Hello everyone. Okay, I'm back and it's time for the Portugal reading. I'm going to try to get as much as I can done inside of an hour. I like to keep my videos about an hour because, anything after that is just too much, I'm sure. But I've got everything done except for the writing around the Portugal sign itself, and you'll see why. I'll just make another video and call that the Portugal Part 2 or whatever, so you know what's being said. But trust me, I've got so much information out of just this little bit that's on the inside, plus the visuals that I've got for you, and to prove my point that they are in Portugal. Some of the things that were hidden that just 100% guarantee the fact that it is Portugal that they're talking about. But before we get started, if you don't mind, I would like to take a moment to say a little prayer for Deb, one of my followers who's been following me for a long time. I've got an email from her in stating that her health has really deteriorated really bad, and I just want to show her a little respect and, and say a little prayer for her. So, and as soon as I'm done, then we'll jump right into this Portugal thing. But if you just give me a moment, okay? Dear Heavenly Father, please come and put your healing hand on Deborah, Lord. You know her heart, you know who she is, you know her illnesses, Lord. Show her mercy, give her courage, give her strength, and heal her afflictions, for all you have to do is speak it. And we ask this all in the precious name of Lord Jesus Christ, our one and only Lord and Savior. Amen. And we all say amen. Okay. Now, like I say all the time, remember, click your link, get your link, because the link has a lot of good visuals for you today, and I want you to understand everything that I'm saying and going over, okay? So, click the link on the video, and the first thing you're going to see when you do is the Navarre Map. I put the Navarre Map in there with the Portugal one following it, but that way you can always go back and look at the Navarre Map and familiarize yourself with what I'm saying, just to show you that it is Navarre that they're at, and the Portugal one. Also, I broke it down and I've got the map in another place in there, so you don't have to go all the way up to the top to look to see what it is I'm telling you about. But anyway, so you got the first map is Navarre. If you open you open that link, right? Okay. The first one is Navarre. The second one is Portugal. Okay. Now that you have that map, you don't really have to focus on that too much, because what I'm going to be showing you is going to be it's going to be step by step. So everything's going to be there for you to see it. But that's there for reference, so you can go back. And every time I do a map, I'm just going to add them, so you'll have the entire map by the time I'm done. If that's interesting for you. I think that would be interesting for me. Okay, very first picture. The Great Cathedral in Lisbon, Portugal. That's actually, the center one is actually what the window looks like. And the depiction of the Lisbon map, or the Lisbon thing on the map in the Voynich Manuscript, is the last one. Of course, you know that just by looking at it. But the rosette in the center of the one that's on the Lisbon Cathedral has 12 flower petals. The one that Ian and them did in the map in the Voynich Manuscript has 13. And they not only used linear depictions, then added the end caps to make them look like a rosette, to make it look like a flower, to give a visual similarity. That was done intentionally. There's 13 linear stripes, which 13 is a very lucky number for the Hebrew and the Jewish nation. I have got links down there to prove what 13 is. 13 is mentioned so many times. It's considered great luck and hope and endurance and all of this stuff. So what better way of depicting luck than what they're doing? They need all the luck in the world for what they're doing and what they're going through, hauling the Ark of the Covenant and and the 10 Commandments through. And it gets better, trust me. But anyway, the temple was erected in, I think, 1147. It started, and then was finished in the the mid 13th century. So it's been there a couple hundred years before Ian and them. So everyone in Alfama would have known about this temple. Ian and all them would have known about this temple. So, I mean, it's not something that just popped up. It's actually been there. It's got a lot of rich history about Lisbon and this temple. And how I said, when they left Navarre, they went to Porto. I don't believe that they did go to Porto. I believe they passed through Porto. But it does say here on the very first the very first end cap where these symbols are, it does say waterfront great temple city Lisbon. So they did take a boat to Lisbon, which makes perfect sense, because why would they go from Porto, take a 2-week trek to Lisbon, and then turn around and take that same 2-week trek back, and a longer one because they had to go from Porto to Santiago, which is another 2 weeks. Why would they do that? It didn't make no sense. So I believe that what they did was they went ahead and they docked portside in Lisbon, and because, you know, once I go over everything, you'll understand why I'm saying that. But anyway, the center rosette, 12 flower petals. There's 13 flower petals to signify good luck and hope. And yet put the end caps on it to make it look like a rosette without making it look like the Lisbon rosette. These guys were very, very smart. Okay, so let's go to the second picture. All of this stuff under here is all about Lisbon. This picture that you're coming up to now, the second one, is what the cathedral looks like today. I would love to go and see this. I would love to go and see this. I would love to go walk what they walked. Yeah, 1147, the first part of the building of the cathedral in Lisbon was created in 1147. And there's a bunch of information there. There's an actual lot of information about what the 13 signifies for the Jewish people in the Hebrew nation. A lot. Just a few. Jacob of Israel had 13 children. 13 is the age of a Jewish male becomes obligated to follow Jewish law, and that's when he has his bar mitzvah. 13 principles of faith according to the Maimonides. There's just a bunch of them. You can read that, but that signifies what 13 means to the Jewish nation, and because it's considered good luck. Good luck. Actually, when Israel became a nation, they said that they wanted 13 people to vote because they needed all the luck that they could get. I mean, this is how serious they are about the number. So it doesn't surprise me any that they would have put 13 inside as a symbolization of hope and good luck. Makes sense to me. And then that way, as another way of hiding the visual of, you know, it's not actually the Lisbon Cathedral. They just mimicked it or anything like that, you know. So there's another good way of hiding something. As I said, these guys were smart. Now, if you go to the next picture, you will see the line that is underneath the rosette window at the chapel, the slatted line. That is decor only. But the next thing that's right next to it is the clock that's on the wall. A single hand clock that was put there to they said that it was put there to stop people from being late for church. That's the reason it was put there. Okay, now look at the slatted lines around the entire rosette in the Voynich Manuscript. Another visual that they gave their readers, that they are in Portugal, because they extended the slats all the way around the rosette, not just underneath it. They extended those slats to go completely around it. And the last picture in the frame. Look at the single clock hand that's in the center. You don't even notice it until you blow it up. But they have a single clock hand, another visualization to let them know they're talking about Portugal, that they are in Portugal. Everybody knows about this clock. Everybody knows about the rosette window. Everybody knows about the decor that's under it. It's been there for hundreds of years. So this was visuals they made for their men and their men only, that they would understand that this is our Lisbon trip. Just visually looking, if you needed to read something from it or whatever, you'd know that they were talking about Lisbon. Okay, now the first set of artistic lettering that is there is waterfront in the great temple city of Lisbon. So this is why I believe that they didn't go to Porto. They went straight to Lisbon, because it would be senseless to backtrack. It would be completely senseless to walk 2 weeks to Lisbon and then walk 2 weeks back to Porto. Why would they stop in Porto if they were just going to take a boat from there to Lisbon? I don't think that it makes any sense. I think that they went directly from Navarre to the Tagus River when they said that they left Milagro and then headed west. If you leave Milagro, one of the tributary rivers is going to run into the Tagus River, and that's west. And you take that river completely west into Lisbon, you're right there at Portside. You dock right there. And he says waterfront in great temple city of Lisbon. So I believe that they did go all the way. And I believe what they did was they left the men on the boat, and he walked by himself, because I don't believe that they would have carried the Ark of the Covenant and everything through town like that. That would have been more concerning than that. They would have been more protective than that. They were intelligent men. I don't think spontaneity was something that they really, it wasn't something that they did. I think that he had a plan. Because the next one, and I've got information about the Tagus River and all that, how it got its name and everything. And also, during the medieval period, large stretches of river were navigational and used for transport between Portugal and Spain, especially during the Iberian Union. So, the accessibility was there. It was a great accessibility from Spain to Portugal and end up right at Lisbon. Even today, there are ferries that go from Navarre to waterfront Lisbon, right to Lisbon. So why wouldn't they have done that? I believe that that's what they did. I just assumed they went to Porto because they spoke of the wine country. But actually, the wine country is a various amount of communities. It's not just Porto. That's only one place. The wine country is something that they could have went through. They went through wine country in order to get to Lisbon. So we'll just say that, right? Yeah. Okay, now if you look at the next picture that I have, why are you not moving? Oh, there we go. The next picture I have is just a map to show the plausibility of them leaving from Navarre and going to the Tagus River and going straight to Lisbon at Portside in Lisbon. So I'm saying that's probably what they did. Now, the second set of symbols that I decoded was, from there I went straight by way of an upward slope. My maneuver remained calm and I'm afraid of civil judgment. Okay. So, upward slope is the hills that he's climbing. He went from the water to the hills because Lisbon is built on hills. 7 of them, to be honest. It gives you all the hills that they're on. I give you all the information here. History of Lisbon, where the hills come from, how many hills there are, and the fact that St. George is one of the hills where you have to go through from Lisbon to St. George to Alfama to get to Alfama. And I'll show you, you'll see. But if you look at the map that's below all that information, please read that information. I'm putting it in there because there's a lot to learn and a lot to read, and especially if it's, you know, got hyperlinks to follow and see the connection as to how things, you know, go and everything. So I would appreciate it if you do, because you would definitely get a lot out of it. Now, if you go to the map that's under it, part of the castle where the tower is overlooking the Tagus River. Now, the Tagus River is off to the right. The first arrow up there shows the Tower of St. George that overlooks the Tagus River. The well and the wall that's built in the center of St. George is there. The well. Now, the well is very popular. It is something that was built. The Torre di Cora is an exterior tower halfway down the hillside, which provided access to a second well and a means of reinforcing or escaping the castle. Possibly, that is why they got what looks like a witch's brew, a witch's pot, or what did they call them? I don't know. I can't remember what they call them. But you can see the wall that they're talking about and the access to the well. Now, look at the hot fountain. You see the candle that is shaped like a fountain? It's a fountain with a candle on top. These clever, ingenious people. The reason they did that, we all know that you have to go from Lisbon through the St. George area on a hill to get to Alfama. Okay? He already spoke of going in an upward slope, which means that he was climbing the hill to get to Alfama. Alfama in Arabic means hot fountain. So, a fountain with a candle on it. Great symbolization of Alfama without saying, this is Alfama. They were all about visuals and symbolizing things. I mean, come on, look at the symbols they created. I mean, it was just another thing. Alfama is the oldest neighborhood of Lisbon, spreading on the slope between St. George Castle and the Tagus River. Its name comes from the Arabic meaning hot fountains or baths. So that is why they got a candle shaped like a fountain, because it signifies what Alfama's real name is, which means hot fountain. So that just shows that they are going from St. George to Alfama. And if you look here, within the inner courtyard of the Trader's Gate, which I showed you where the wall is up by the well, nondescript door cultivates the extensive fortifications and allows messengers in or deserters to escape. Also in this courtyard is a well which provided a constant water supply to the castle. So that's what I'm saying. That wall, that cistern, is actually the well, depicting the well that is in St. George. That's, you know, well known. No pun intended. And then I got a picture of what the well looks like. This is the well. It was in the Roman time that this well was put in. Or before. Who knows? I'm not for sure. But I know it's still there. But it was a public well, so this is what they're depicting when they're showing that cistern in between, in the center of St. George Castle on the hill, and then in between Alfama. And Alfama is depicted as a fountain with a flame, because in Arabic it means hot fountains. Come on. These guys are so smart. Okay, and I give you some more information. I also added some links there where you can go and you can look at when the fountain was made, the wells, why a second well was made. It gives you all the information of the wells in St. George Way. And the existence of several springs located in Alfama district, Lisbon, Portugal, reported since the medieval Islamic reign. Okay, are important but almost unknown part of the history of the city. The word Alfama probably comes from the Arabic Alhama, which means hot spring. Okay? Hot spring, hot fountain. If it's Arabic, I mean, it represents hot. So, wow. I mean, I just think that was clever. It was very clever. All right, now they say, we left the city and recorded the canal view in Curia visit by way of the crossroads. I think he meant to say here, we recorded at the canal view or by the canal view in our Curia visit by way of the crossroads. Because once you get to Curia, you have to bend off to Porto. And then from Porto, you take the new Portuguese way to Santiago de Compostela. So I would consider they would think this is a crossroads or a crossing. They have certain stops during these that these groups accumulate at. And for safety, they all accumulate together in they're called bivouacs, which are actually temporary camps. They don't have tents or anything like that. So bivouac is a temporary place of sleeping without a tent. So they gather together. That may be at the Curious stop. That's why he's recording, because he does give reference to making notes throughout their journey of what they're going through, which makes sense. How are you going to know ahead? I mean, they were intelligent, but I don't believe they were psychic. I think that they just had great intuition, and they found a way to make it work. And because this was so important, I don't think that they would have jeopardized anything. I think that they just would have charted any moment they could and, you know, make it work. That's what I think anyway. And then I showed you the Lisbon to Curia walk. It's 46 hours. Okay, so that is at least a couple of weeks. And he says right here, we took the crowd, which will take a week or more of walking time. I will go now. It is important for others to follow behind and listen and be our voice. This is going to make sense here in a little bit. Okay? I will go now, for it is important for others to follow behind and listen to be our voice. In case trouble brewed, they did not want the two items together, the book and the ark. They didn't want them together, the Ten Commandments and the book. They wanted things to be, you know, kind of mellow and kosher. But if they stayed behind and something happened and they were listening and people were talking or people were questioning, or let's say the king sent his men and there was rambles and ramshacks going on in the camps, which did happen. It's not like that wasn't a possibility. They could possibly leave to get to him and let him know there's trouble ahead or there's trouble behind you. Get the ark out of the way, get the 10 Commandments out, hide, find a place to go, and he would have done that. That was of great importance to them. So everything that they had, they were, bit by bit, they had everything mapped out. Excuse me. And that's mapped out. Another, no pun intended. Oh, I'm so clever. Okay, now, the Portuguese Camino from Lisbon route. Number of days to complete the entire trip from Lisbon to Santiago de Compostela, which is in Spain, is 28 to 30 days. 15 to 16 days from Lisbon to Porto, I guess, depending on how fast you walk or how many hours a day you walk. But 15 to 16. He said it would take a week or more of walking. So 15 to 16 days from Lisbon to Porto. And then from Porto, you take the Porto Camino walk to Santiago de Compostela, which brings you right through Vienna do Castelo, which brings you right through Lima, Pont de Lima, over the Lima Bridge into Galicia, Spain, and then from Galicia to Santiago de Compostela. This is the trail that they walk, the El Camino way. From Spain, and from Portugal is called the Portuguese way. They also have one from France called the France way. All of these are very popular ones. And actually, the one from Lisbon is the most known, used since the walks began. And you got to remember, they found the body of St. James, which was Jesus's disciple, one of the 12 disciples. James, they found his body in 816, 819, 800 and some AD. And the walk has been going on a few years after that. So it started just that time that they found him. So this Portuguese walk has been going on since 800 AD or 900 AD. Think of how many years that is. And it's still going strong today. They're reported that millions of people are going, you know, on the Portuguese walk and on the El Camino way, the Spanish way. Millions of people a year seeking redemption, walking the road to redemption. And that's why I don't think they had a problem with the people that's why they hid within the mass, within the crowd, because no one was there for being mean. They were all seeking redemption. They were going to the same place, you know, so it was going to be peaceful. It was going to be unquestionable. And he says it here too. So anyway, we are careful while hiding a place in the ink, although to everyone it appears old. I broke first introduction. There are some who abide uninformed. So he went to, even on page 1, it says he made an emotional appeal. Remember what he said. I made an emotional appeal. So I'm thinking that this is probably Ian that is talking. Probably. So that means that he would be the one writing within the lines too, because the writer is the one speaking. But we won't know. Maybe we'll find out. I don't want to say something then have to totally retract it, because then it would make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, he says we are careful while hiding a place in ink. In other words, they're working on it. They're careful while they're working on it. Although to everyone it appears old. So he introduced the book. I believe that's what he said. I made first introduction. I think he introduced the book or showed them the book. And they just appear to think that it's an old manuscript and that he's documenting and making his own notes. That would be perfect. That would be a perfect way for them to be able to openly write what they're writing without anyone seeing or questioning, I should say. They would see, but maybe they wouldn't question. Because he said, to everyone it appears old, he broke first introduction, and there are some who abide uninformed. So, uninformed as they didn't care, or uninformed as he didn't tell everybody, just the few that he needed. Like, maybe these walks had a leader, or had a, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just assuming that this is what happened. But I believe that not everybody knew about the book, and the ones who counted the most did. And then I have links, very good links on this one, about 12th, 13th, and 14th century medical manuscripts, and why they were so important, and why the old books back then that pertained plant health, star charts, or anything like that, why no one bothered them, why they respected them, why it was so important to have them. So definitely look at that. That I went and did some research on that. That was great. Then it goes, we leave united for Pont de Lima. There is no judgment in the Mass. So now they're leaving Curia. They're headed to Porto, and they're going to go to Pont de Lima, which is the next step, because the Lima Bridge is where they need to be to take the bridge over into Spain, okay? So they're headed to Pont de Lima. They already said this. And there's no judgment in the Mass, so right now they're feeling comfortable. Well, I don't say they're completely comfortable, because their anxiety has got to be the highest it's ever been. But I would say that they're getting ready to leave, and now they're headed to Pont de Lima. Remember, they're at Curia. He says that he's recording, or he recorded at the Curia visit. Now he's leaving and going to Ponte Lima. That would be their next stop. Once they get through Porto, that Ponte Lima would be their next stop, and that's in Viana do Castelo. It's in the community of Viana do Castelo, Ponte Lima is. And the reason they call it that is because of the Lima Bridge over the Lima River. Okay, so these are pictures of paintings of 13th, 14th, 15th century depictions of the El Camino way, of the Portuguese way. And this is just to give you a visual of how easy it would be for them to use wagons, carriages, horse, backpacks, mules, you name it. Because if these artists did not notice that this was going on inside the El Camino way or the Portuguese way, how would they even give a rendition of what the walks would look like? And it's just a visual, just so you can see that, wow, it would be plausible. But there's one, I think it's the third one, that I really want you to pay attention to. Look at the depiction. This is a depiction of a 14th century artist who depicted excuse me, wow, I just kind of just like drew a blank. Depicted the Black Death, a scene of the Black Death that hit the Portuguese way. But look at what the men in the background are carrying. Look at that. Does that not resemble the Ark of the Covenant? I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying they were carrying, you could think, remember, they're going for a month. They're going for a month. So they have a lot of supplies and stuff that they're carrying with them. So it wouldn't be completely unthinkable for them to hide the ark by carrying it this way. They already got things that are going like this on a 14th century painting. So people have done this. I know they used a wagon. It says so. So, I mean, but I'm just saying, look at what they did. And then, you know, all the horses and all of that, and the herds of people, you know, with wagons and horses and pack mules and all this. So they had a way of carrying that Ark of the Covenant without too much, you know, drawing too much attention to them. It was completely plausible. Okay, now the pictures are gone. I'm giving you a heads up on Ponte Lima, the oldest town in Portugal. Okay, the bridge that's there is called the Lima Bridge. It extends from Portugal to Spain over the Lima River. And I believe the reason they went that way is because that was the easiest access into Spain. They didn't have to do that. That's the only access they had. They would have had to load their wagon onto a boat, cross the river, and then hike it back up. Why? Just use the Lima Bridge. They had mapped this thing out. They knew what they were doing, and I'll show you here what he says. It's very amazing. But it gives you information about Ponte Lima, what the bridge looks like now. This is where they're headed, to this bridge. And I think this picture was taken 4 or 5 years ago or something, but it's basically what the bridge looks like. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Listen. Ancient ruins in Vienna. Waiting on the others with the book. They had stopped, and I was already with the ark. So he was ahead. Like he said, I will go now and leave the others behind so they can be our ears and voice. Now he's in the ancient ruins in Viana do Castelo, which is just 5 or 6 hours from Ponte Lima, walk time, waiting on the rest of the crowd so they can take off from there and cross the bridge together. He said, waiting on the book. He was already with the ark. Now, this is the first time that I found in the Voynich Manuscript that they called it the ark. They always made remarks as in they were carrying the stone tablets that God himself had numbered, or the tablets that were given to the prophet in the light, or the fact that they even said that they left the mercy seat on the wheel page. All of these insinuate that they're talking about the Ark of the Covenant. This is the first time that I have found they actually called it the Ark. That was exciting to me. That was very exciting to me. So the ancient ruins that they're talking about is in Viana do Castelo, which Ponte de Lima is a part of Viana do Castelo. It's called the Citadina de Santa Lusa, also known as the Old City of Santa Lusa. It is the archaeological site of a Castro culture located in the Portuguese civil parish of Arusia in the municipality of Viana do Castelo. Its construction dates from the Iron Age, and it shows evidence of occupation during the Roman period. Now, when we get to the part of the map with Viana do Castelo and Ponte de Lima and the Lima Bridge, you are going to be blown away with the cylindrical buildings that they have to prove that this is where they're at when it comes to the ancient ruins. Now look at the pictures. These were cylinder-shaped storage units, or they said they even used them as houses that were some 20, 30 feet high. Okay, they were big cylinder homes or silos or whatever they used them for. Who knows? But they were designed, or they were in the Iron Age. I mean, that's why they called it the ancient city. They were in the ancient city. And then from Viana do Castelo at the ancient city where they're at to Ponte de Lima is 5 hours and 14 minutes. So they are almost ready to cross over into Spain. So they're getting there. Then he says, turns out I hear from many that the entry from there is no more. I will go by myself empty-handed a day before to ensure our crossing. Now, he's heard rumors that for some reason the bridge is closed. I mean, it could have been anything. It is an old bridge. I mean, anything could have happened. Flooding could have damaged it, stopped the going across. Kingdoms could have stopped for some reason, not letting anybody cross, and paying taxes, or who knows. He wasn't going to take a chance. He had too much to ride, or too much riding on this. He couldn't take a chance. So he went by himself to cross over there and see and make sure that the Lima Bridge, their way to safety, was still available to cross. Because if not, he would have had to figure something else out. So he walked 5 hours, and I believe he did it in the night. I believe that he went in the evening because he come back. And when he come back, this is what he said. Life in the ink survives. They are here. Okay? The men are back with the book. The men and the book. They are here. They are here. The deed to keep it non-existent in order to evade is working. So now he knows what they're doing is working. The book survived 2 weeks. They're almost at their one final stop before they get to Santiago de Compostela, which is the prophet's place where they're going to see James. They're almost at their final stop. They're halfway. I'd say about halfway. But he says the deed to keep it non-existent, in other words, to keep it hidden where no one can understand what it is, in order to evade, is working. Now, this is what he says on the last one. They have arrived. Praise the construction and the axles. Praise the construction of the wagon and the axles for bearing the weight and making that trek and still being there. Still making it. Praise. He's giving praise to that. He's very thankful for that because his trip is not over yet. Lest we forget the prayers of the rabbis. Before leaving, I will eagerly write in it. So now he's talking about the book. He's going to write in the book. He's going to chart. Or I could have gotten that part wrong. And before leaving, I am eagerly writing in it. Okay? I could have chose the wrong prepositions or chose the word wrongly out of the ones. Write, written, writing, I could have chose it. I could go back. But either way, you get the concept of what he's talking about. You understand what he's talking about. He's happy. He's there. praise the construction in the axles, which only means that, you know, he's happy that it's made it this far. And stress is still in him, but it makes it so much easier knowing that things are going according to plan. So, you can go back and read everything that I've got in the picture blocks, which are the 10 things that decoded, and read it together and get the full story. It's amazing and it's beautiful. Next week I'm going to do page 2, and then the week after that I will do the continuation of Portugal, and then we're going to head right over to Viana do Castelo and Ponte de Lima and the Lima Bridge. That is the next part of the map. And I said I will place up the map, you know, as I go, so you can follow along. And then eventually you're going to have each individual piece of the map and have the complete story with it. That'd be amazing. But anyway, did I prove that they're in Portugal? Did it give you something to think about? I sure hope so, because everything is just coming together and it's making so much sense, especially with using a candle fountain to represent hot fountains or the hot springs that Alfama means. In Arabic, Alfama means hot fountain. I mean, a fountain with a candle, that's perfect to depict Alfama, to state that they're in Alfama. The cauldron on the wall is the perfect way to state the wall that displays the well of the St. George Castle. And then the St. George Castle and the Tagus River with their looking tower. The clock hand in the middle of the Portuguese rosette, but 13 linear stripes with the end caps to make it look like a rosette, but yet depicting good luck for them. So I hope you understand everything that I'm trying to get, and I hope that I'm painting a clear picture. And again, as I said, I'll do a part 2, and I will go back and I will do a second video to where it will be the writing around the Portugal sign of what they're talking about and what they're doing. I can just imagine the information in there. I don't know what it is that they're saying. It could be, you know, I don't know. I don't even want to guess. I don't want to guess. I just want to get it out and then share it with you. And as I said, to go ahead and read everything together and get the full picture of the story, the complete story. It's just beautiful. And I hope that God be with you guys until my next video. Fill your hearts with peace, joy, love, and nothing more, because you don't need anything more than that. And Deb, I hope you're feeling well, and I'm sure that the good Lord heard the prayer, and He will take care of you. And everybody that's following me and watching me, I appreciate you so much. I really do. Even the ones who think I'm a nutcase. But it is what it is. Can't please everybody. But anyway, until next time, guys, enjoy yourself. Keep your heart full of peace and love, and know that I'm thinking about you and I love you, and I will see you next week.